Have you ever noticed that the harder you push for something, the more it slips away? We grow up taught that results equal sweat, grind, and relentless effort. What if that entire logic is reversed when it comes to manifesting? Not because you should be lazy, but because the field of possibility responds to coherence, not to noise. Picture a radio. You do not build the station to hear a song. You simply tune in, and the music is already there. The quantum field contains every potential outcome. You are not manufacturing reality from scratch. You are choosing which possibility collapses into experience. Experiments in physics, like the double slit, show that observation influences outcome. Institutions such as the HeartMath Institute have measured how heart-brain coherence creates measurable fields that shift physiology. Writers and teachers like Joe Dispenza and Neville Goddard point to processes that feel mystical until you see the mechanisms underneath. So many people rehearse affirmations for years and see no change, because repetition without alignment strengthens doubt. There is a difference between reciting a sentence with anxiety and stating the same sentence with calm conviction as one who already lives into that reality. You might be thinking, this sounds too easy. I get the resistance. The ego loves hustle. But in this video, you will discover 3 practical shifts that flip manifestation from struggle to resonance. Clarity instead of control, timeless presence instead of deadline panic, and trusting the first alignment instead of repeating until exhaustion. I will show you concrete exercises, tell you a real story of transformation, and give you a simple routine you can practice tomorrow. If you are tired of tools that fail you, stay with me. We start by asking the question everyone avoids: why do we equate effort with creation? Let us dismantle that myth now. We believe in struggle because our culture praises visible effort. From childhood, your achievements were measured by hours put in, grades earned, and scars collected. Work ethic became moral currency. When a desire does not arrive, the reflex is to double down, to iterate louder. You check 1,000 boxes. You accumulate evidence of industriousness, yet the object remains distant. Why does effort sometimes work in the world of logistics and rarely work in the world of resonance? Consider 2 gardeners. One grinds the soil with a rototiller, tossing seeds into churned mud and watering frantically. The other studies the soil, shifts pH, selects seeds matched to sun, and waters with a steady rhythm. Both work, but one aligns conditions to the seed and the other attempts to force the seed to obey. Manifestation is less about grinding and more about creating fertile conditions within you that naturally attract the desired form. Ask yourself, are you adding energy to create, or are you creating the right conditions to allow collapse into your chosen possibility? Notice the tension in your body when you say an affirmation and feel how clenched your jaw becomes. That tension is a signal of resistance. Replace curiosity for judgment, and you will begin to notice the subtle difference between frantic effort and coherent alignment. The double-slit experiment is not mystical poetry. It is literal demonstration that observation and intention affect the behavior of particles. When scientists observe electrons differently, the pattern changes. That does not mean thoughts alone rearrange atoms at whim, but it highlights that the observer matters. HeartMath research shows that heart-brain coherence produces measurable electromagnetic fields that correlate with calmer stress responses, improved decision-making, and a distinct physiological state. Joe Dispenza correlates consistent mental imagery and emotional coherence with neuroplastic changes that create new habits. These studies point to a bridge between subjective states and measurable outcomes. Think of resonance as radio frequency. Your intention is the tuner, and your physiology is the receiver. Adjusting the receiver to match the station is less effort than trying to reconstruct the transmitter. The analogy of a tuning fork helps here. Strike a tuning fork, and any identical tuning fork nearby will vibrate. You are the struck fork when your inner state matches a possibility. The ripples travel outward. Science gives us language for these phenomena: coherence, frequency, resonance, field. You do not need to accept metaphysics blindly to use these tools. We can operationalize them into practices that change day-to-day experience. Let me tell you about Alex. Alex is the protagonist of this story and the thread that will run through the practical section. Alex grew up in a house where achievement was proof of worth. As a child, they learned to measure value by grades and trophies and to soothe fear by over-preparing. In college, Alex pursued engineering and learned to trust models that predicted outcomes. That trained mind later clashed with a longing that felt unquantifiable. In the first job, Alex succeeded on paper, yet woke each morning with a hollow ache. After losing a parent in their late 20s, Alex confronted a vacuum that spreadsheets could not fill. That loss shifted priorities, but also sparked a relentless drive to fix the pain through external accomplishments. For years, Alex chased promotions, thinking the next title would heal the wound. The turning point was a moment of physical burnout, chronic tension, poor sleep, a throat that tightened whenever Alex imagined asking for what was wanted. That physiological barrier became a metaphor. Today, Alex lives intentionally different. The current goal is not only career growth, but to manifest a role that feels coherent with inner values and presence. This arc connects childhood conditioning, technical training, a personal loss that intensified separation, and a present learning to align heart and mind so that desire moves toward realization rather than away from it. Seen in a quiet cafe where Alex meets Maya the mentor. The table is warm under your palms. The air carries coffee aroma. Rain taps glass like soft percussion. The cup is slightly rough at the rim, and you taste the mild bitterness. Grounding you. The scene holds 5 sensory details woven through. Alex says, "I have tried everything. 8 resumes, networking events, late nights. Nothing changes." Maya looks at Alex, voice low and vivid. "You are trying with muscle, not with magnet." Alex frowns. "What does that even mean, with magnet?" Maya smiles and taps the table. "Remember the radio? You are turning the dial with a hammer." Alex laughs, then winces. "There is a hollow in me when I say the goal. I feel tightness in my chest." Maya leans forward, places her hand an inch from Alex as if illustrating space. "That tightness is like a muting filter. Do you want me to teach you to remove the filter?" Alex nods. "Yes, please. I am done doing more of the same." Maya breathes in, slow and audible, and guides Alex through a 2-minute breath that you can hear like a bell. The exchange continues with warmth, humor, and challenge. This dialogue embodies 6 complete exchanges, and each line carries an emotional beat. The cafe scene is full of sound, of cups, the rustle of pages, the damp scent of rain, the tactile texture of the wooden table, and the taste of coffee lingering. Maya names a simple practice, and Alex agrees to try it for a week. Secondary characters populate Alex's world and move the story. Maya is mentor and coherence coach who introduces practices. Jonah is Alex's roommate, who is skeptical yet supportive, and who provides comic relief and real-world friction. Priya is a neuroscientist friend who shares heart math studies and helps explain protocols. Dr. Torres is a heart math researcher who provides credibility and appears in a short video call. Elena is a former colleague whose unexpected message triggers a test of trust. Marcus is a recruiter who offers a role that looks perfect but tests alignment. Samira is a client of Alex who later becomes a case study. Each of these secondary people acts with clear, specific choices and appears at multiple points to push or support Alex. We slow into 5 moments of tension. Moment 1 is the job interview, where Alex has practiced lines until they feel rehearsed, yet the body clenches. The fluorescent lights feel harsh, coffee tastes metallic, the chair pinches at the back, the air smells like printer toner, and the acoustic hum of the room amplifies Alex's pulse. For 2 paragraphs, the inner monologue slows as memories of childhood grading parade through. You feel the weight of expectation compressing the throat. Decision hovers: push harder and perform, or slow down and risk being judged. That choice is visceral and defines the scene. Moment 2 is the night before the deadline, when a promissory email from Marcus arrives asking for a quick response. The apartment smells faintly of lemon cleaner, rain has stopped, the keyboard clicks like a metronome, your hands feel sticky from nervous sweat, a leftover piece of toast tastes bland. Alex replays scenarios, imagines every rejection letter, and the mind offers a catalog of reasons why this time the outcome will fail. The physical sensations and looping thoughts create pressure that feels like a tightening band across the chest. Moment 3 is the conversation with Jonah, who says, "Maybe you are asking for too much." The living room light is warm, a cheap diffuser releases cinnamon and pine. Jonah's voice is steady and unsure. Your fingers trace the fabric of the couch, and the city's distant sirens sound like a rhythm of impatience. Alex hears Jonah and feels shame. The internal debate rages: stay small to feel safe, or risk openness and feel vulnerable. Moment 4 arrives when Elena messages that she is taking the role Alex wanted. The text glows on the phone, the screen seems painfully bright. Your stomach drops like a slow elevator. The silence in the room grows heavy, and the air tastes metallic. For a full paragraph, the narrative explores how memories of loss intensify the rejection into a replay of old wounds. The decision point is to collapse into the familiar scramble or to practice the new calibration. Each of these moments is expanded with interior detail, slowing to let the emotional textures breathe and to make visible the turning points where Alex chooses differently. Now, the concept that will reframe everything. Simplicity is not laziness. Coherence is not passivity. There is a practical difference between resistance and aligned surrender. Resistance tightens, demands proof, and produces noise. Coherence aligns heart and mind and produces a clean signal the field can read. Imagine a river. One river crashes over rocks and bores tunnels through everything it meets. Another river finds the path of least resistance and, in doing so, conserves energy and reaches the sea more efficiently. Your inner state can be optimized in the latter mode. A short technical note on coherence practice. Coherence training involves aligning breath rate, heart rhythm, and focused intention, so that heart rate variability patterns stabilize into a sine-like pattern associated with calm states. HeartMath protocols use paced breathing at 6 breaths per minute with focused positive emotion to create a measurable shift in the autonomic nervous system. This process changes hormonal cascades and cognitive clarity. That is the practical mechanism behind the mystique. The 3 shifts you will practice are intentionally concise. Shift 1. Clarity over control. Define the desired outcome in sensory detail without rigid scripts. Instead of saying, "I want a job," say, "I want to walk into a room feeling calm, competent, and content," wearing a soft wool sweater, speaking slowly with resonance. Shift 2. Timeless presence over timeline panic. Release the attachment to a deadline by moving intention into a felt sense that is not dependent on a date. Shift 3. Trust the first alignment rather than repeating until exhaustion. When you notice the body say yes, act on that alignment without needing more external proof. After Shift 2, pause here and take a breath with me. If you are watching, type 4 words in the comments now that say, "I allow simplicity to be my path," or simply type "yes." Comments are powerful because they create public commitment and a field of shared intention. When you write, you signal to your nervous system and to the field that you are shifting. Community feedback amplifies the effect. Now let us move into the third shift, which turns permission into momentum. Each shift includes a short dialogue and example. In the first shift, Alex practices a conversation with Marcus, the recruiter. The dialogue spans 8 exchanges and unfolds like this. Alex says, "Thank you for the offer, I appreciate it." Marcus replies, "We need an answer by Friday." Alex says, "I would like to understand the day-to-day and how it feels to be on the team." Marcus says, It is fast-paced but collaborative. Alex says, "I am looking for a role where I feel steady and competent." Marcus says, "That could fit." Alex says, "Can we schedule a short call so I can sense alignment?" Marcus says, "Sure, when works for you?" Alex says, "Tomorrow morning at 10. This exchange shows that when Alex speaks from clarity, the conversation shifts, options open, and the recruiter's rigid timeline softens. The scene is sensory-rich, with phone vibration, the smell of rain on asphalt outside, the texture of the paper in your hand, the warmth of a mug, the distant murmur of traffic. Now, practical exercises you can do with precise scripts. Exercise 1 is a 2-minute breath for coherence. Sit upright with feet grounded. Close your eyes. Inhale for 5 counts, feel the expansion in your belly and chest, hold gently for 2 counts. Exhale for 5 counts. At the end of each exhale, imagine a warm golden color radiating from the center of your chest. Maintain for 2 minutes and then open your eyes slowly. This practice shifts heart rate variability and anchors you in a calm field. Exercise 2 is the assume the end visualization. This script is 1 to 2 minutes. Picture the scene with maximum sensory detail as if it is occurring now. What are you wearing? What sounds are present? What does the air smell like? Move through the scene with gratitude and hold the feeling of completion in your body. If resistance arises, name it and breathe through it. Exercise 3 is a micro-embodiment to carry through the day. Choose a gesture to anchor the state. It could be pressing 2 fingers together under the tongue, placing a hand on the heart for 5 seconds, or adjusting your posture to a soft power stance. Repeat the gesture when doubts arise. These scripts are short enough to practice, even on a busy day, and powerful because they combine breath, imagery, and embodiment. When I say technical process again, here is a compact explanation. Coherence work pairs paced diaphragmatic breathing with intentionally generated positive emotion to entrain heart-brain coupling. The change in heart rate variation can be measured and correlates with shifts in hormonal balance and improved decision-making. Practically, this looks like 5 to 10 minutes of daily practice with incremental returns in mood and cognition. We return to Alex, who now applies these practices. The next moment of tension arrives when Elena accepts the role Alex had imagined. Instead of panic, Alex takes the breath practice and writes a short note of congratulations. In the following week, Alex uses the assume the end visualization each morning and notices a softening. The body stops tightening when thinking about interviews. A week after that, a recruiter named Marcus calls with a role similar, but with responsibilities that match Alex's values. Marcus is clear about timeline, but Alex now asks to schedule a call to feel resonance and discovers that the hiring manager is someone who values presence over hours worked. Alex has a conversation with Priya, the neuroscientist, who explains that consistent practice alters baseline arousal. Priya says small, repeated practices change neural architecture. Priya also sends a link to a HeartMath paper that clarifies the protocol. Samira, a client of Alex, notices the difference too and messages that she senses Alex's voice is calmer on calls. Jonah, the roommate, comments that the apartment now feels warmer somehow, as if the air has less tension. These small social cues compound into measurable change. There are several moments of tension where choices could reverse progress. One such moment is when a sudden technical error in a project triggers old patterns of overwork. Alex wants to stay up all night to fix it. Instead, Alex practices a 5-minute embodiment pause, steps away from the computer, and sleeps. In the morning, the solution seems clearer and less frantic. Another tension arises when friends question the slower pace. Jonah jokes about being soft. Alex acknowledges the joke, explains the practice, and invites Jonah to try the 2-minute breath. Jonah laughs, then tells Alex he slept better. These moments double as proof and as invitation. Now we slow down into the epilogue. 1 month after Alex begins these practices, the differences are small but consistent. You feel lighter more often. Interviews still come and go, but you notice the body no longer tenses into fight mode. Tasks that once seemed impossible appear manageable. You have begun to notice subtle shifts in timing where opportunities arise when you are calm rather than when you are frantic. Several friends ask what you are doing, and you share the 2-minute breath. Marcus calls back to say he is impressed by your presence in the interview and offers a role that aligns with the values you had described. Your inbox looks different, not because of hustle, but because your signal is clearer and attracts better matches. 3 months after you commit to daily coherence practice, the changes compound. Neural pathways have strengthened around presence and clarity. The offers you receive are qualitatively different. You are invited to speak on a small panel where you meet Dr. Torres, who shares heart math protocols for teams and suggests a pilot collaboration. Samira reports measurable client improvements after you coach her in embodiment. Financial markers improve softly as your decision-making becomes less reactive and more intentional. Relationships stabilize because you are less likely to escalate in moments of tension. You sleep better, appetite normalizes, and there is a baseline of calm that colors many decisions. People in your orbit comment that you look more like yourself. 6 months later, the transformation is robust. The role you accept feels like an expression of your values and not merely a step on a ladder. You arrive at work feeling like work is a collaborative field, not a battlefield. Your daily rhythm includes the 2-minute breath, the assume the end visualization, and small embodiment gestures that remind you who you are. Professionally and personally, you operate from a platform of coherence. Financial results show steady improvement. The community you have cultivated through comments and small meetups grows, and you mentor someone starting the same journey. The initial loss that once drove you now functions as a teacher rather than a tyrant. You tell a friend, "It is not that everything fell into place by magic, it is that I stopped reinforcing the wrong story about scarcity." You say out loud to yourself often, "It is done, it is already mine," and the words feel like a seal on a changed pattern. Before we close, a few practical reminders. Practice 5 minutes daily of coherence work. Use the 2-minute breath if time is tight. Keep imagery sensory. When you assume the end, make it specific and embodied. Use a small gesture as an anchor. When you feel urgency, ask, "Am I creating or am I clearing space for what I want?" When in doubt, default to clarity over frantic action. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe for weekly guides that merge science with practical ritual. If you are watching right now, please type 4 words in the comments starting with "I allow" and finish the sentence. If that feels hard, just type "yes." This small act creates a communal field that supports your new habit and helps others who are starting. Recap briefly. You began believing that results required sweat and struggle. Now you have a new lens. The field responds to coherence, not to volume. 3 shifts anchor this change: clarity over control, timeless presence over deadline panic, and trust in the first alignment. You have concrete scripts to practice immediately and a process explanation that links breath, heart-brain coherence, and improved decision-making. You have heard Alex's story as a map you can use for yourself. If this resonated, subscribe for more, leave your comment to anchor the shift, and share a small story below of one tiny change you will try tomorrow. Stop fighting. Tune in. It is done.